From Boca Raton, Florida, this is Behind the Bima. On this episode, Rabbi Goldberg and co-host Rabbi Josh Broide are joined by Rabbi Andrew Shaw, director of the Simchas Torah Project and CEO of Mizrachi, UK. Rabbi Shaw shares the inspiration and goals behind the Simchas Torah Project, explains how this initiative honors the victims of October 7 while uniting communities in celebration and remembrance, and describes the challenges and successes of coordinating a global effort to bring new special Torah covers to synagogues around the world. Plus, a discussion of daily schedules. All this and more, Behind the Bima.
Welcome back, Behind the Bima, joined by my dear friend and colleague, Rabbi Joshua Broide. Rabbi Broide, great to be back together, a little summer break. And we are back, and a new year, a new season of Behind the Bima. And we're continuing a lot about Israel, a lot of connection. We can't stop. It's on our mind each and every day. But a lot's gone on while we've been away. We're going to bring a great new season, great new conversations, people, personalities, and Behind the Bima, what's going on behind the Bima. But one thing I noticed before the Bima when I got back, Rabbi Broide, is your yarmulke a little bigger?
Is there a little bit less hair? Can I just tell you something? I was in Modi'in, and someone came over to me, and they said they recognized me for two reasons. Number one, they said because of the Doc Marten boots. But they said that wasn't what drew them to the table. It was the kippah. They said, "Is that a thing that you guys do in Boca?" I said,
That's it. It's our uniform, different organizations. Some have a pin, some have a uniform, some have a logo. I also, over the summer while I was places, I walked into a restaurant. I see these old people, but they thought they were whispering, but I could hear everything because they were actually shouting. And they're like,
Rabbi Goldberg.
I think that's him. Look at the yarmulke.
Look at the yarmulke. Yeah, I love it. So it might be a little bit bigger. Maybe you go up one number. I don't know, 6 to 7.
It's comfortable. It just sits up there. You don't have to worry about the wind. No wind's knocking it over.
No. But you know what? I am thinking about, do you get tape at some point? It has crossed my mind.
You think tape?
All the tape, and it just stays on a little stronger.
How was your time off? Did you charge your batteries a little bit? You were in Israel. Big simcha, big news.
Big simcha, breaking news. And I think that was really, this was the first time we were in Israel where it wasn't anything other than just visiting family. Thank God. We got 3 kids living right now, and 2 son-in-laws, God willing, a third coming up soon. And it was just visiting, playing the role of a grandparent, which was great.
Have on the engagement, and it's great.
Thank you. Got a new chassan on the way, and very, very exciting.
Super exciting. And you're back and you're ready to go. Give us some preview. The year ahead. Every time you come back, you're like, this is going to be the best year yet.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it started, I think maybe yesterday, maybe this morning. I think it started yesterday with your Simchas Torah, just trying to get into that routine again, just hitting, what the minyan's going to look like, which is your slot, how you get like re-energized again, what you're going to do before. I tried really hard this morning. I said, you know what, I want to go at 6:15. I want to go to the
Kol Boker.
I had a whole plan. The plan was wake up at 5, jump out of bed, go for a run, 30-minute run, shower, hit the Kol Boker. So the 5 a.m. went off. Next thing I knew, it was 6 a.m. And then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so tired right now. I don't think I can get out of bed. And I'm like, oh no, but then minyan, I'm going to miss the minyan. I'm like, you know what? Quickly, go for a quick run. I wanted to do 30 minutes. I did 15 minutes, hit the shower, didn't make the Kol Boker, but made it there for the 7 a.m. And
made it from minyan. That's what matters.
Just trying to figure it out.
I go to the Kol Boker. We started last year. It's a beautiful thing. It's great. Our base medrash, our library is packed. Wonderful group of people. 6:15, 7 every morning. This year we're going to look to maybe expand on it a little bit longer, recruit more people, offer more options to join people who are learning already. But I'll tell you something personal. Every morning is a battle for me. Yeah. That alarm goes off and the negotiation begins. Yeah. The snooze, how long can I justify? Can I text the chavrusa? I'm not going to make. Can we learn that? It's a battle. It's a battle. By the time I actually get there, I look like, you just woke up and you got there. I fought. It's like, it is, I choose my words carefully, I guess now. Obviously, we're much more sensitive to that language, but it's a struggle. So there are the type of people, they wake up in the morning, their internal alarm goes up, they jump out of bed, they're ready and raring to go. I'm not one of them, but you got to fight it and overcome it. And I'll tell you, one of the amazing things to me about it is by the time your day really starts, you've already won some victories. You've already fought that demon. You fought that skeleton. You told him where he could go. You told him who's boss and who's in charge. You said, get lost, be quiet, not listening to you. I'm off. And it's great. So by the time, 6:15, you learned, you got your daf, you got your chavrusa, 7 o'clock minyan. by 7:30, 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning, you've won victories. Some people haven't even gotten out of bed and you've won victories. I heard a podcast talking about this because have you ever had a temptation I'm this close to getting? I don't know if any of our listeners, anyone watching, want to share some feedback. If you have it, I'm really close to getting an ice bath. Ice bath.
Someone in the community I know just got one.
Yeah?
Yeah, in the backyard. Yeah.
Apparently a lot of research, there's a lot of science that shows ice baths it's good for muscle recovery, it's good for cognitive function and memory, it's actually good for deeper sleep later that night. It's got a lot of benefits, but it's hard to get into 40 degree it's hard. In Florida, so I said maybe somebody I'm related to by marriage said to me, before you spend money on an ice bath, tough guy, just why don't you turn the shower all the way to the coldest setting and see how you do.
Do that for a week and then see how well.
Right. See, I did, but here's the issue. In Florida, the coldest setting is like lukewarm.
Yeah.
There's no cold in Florida. There's hot and lukewarm. There's no cold. But I think I'm ready. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I tempted? First of all, I'm putting it out there because now I have to do it. Like once you say it, you put it out there. Now you got to do it. But I'll tell you why, because I was listening to a podcaster who's very into the fact that he does it, health reasons, health benefits. But he says every morning he jumps in that ice bath before he starts his day. It wakes you up. It gets you going. It's chemical release and muscle, all the science behind it. So, but every day is a struggle. And he doesn't call it the Yetzer Hara. We would call it the Yetzer Hara, but he's got that internal voice, and he tells that internal voice exactly where you should go and who's boss and who's in charge. And that 60 seconds, sometimes 90 seconds, sometimes 30 seconds, but let's say on average 60 seconds in that ice bath, he's got a victory to start the day. However else the rest of the day goes, you got a victory over that Yetzer Hara to start the day.
What about if you turn the men's mikveh into an ice bath? You
put an ice bath at the shul?
Oh, yeah, it's a mikveh and an ice bath.
Some mikvahs have that, by the way. A lot of Hasidic communities, they've got three next to it. There's hot, warm, and cold. A lot of them have that side by side.
Really? Could you turn your ice bath into a mikveh? If you let some water in there first?
You got to dig a hole in the ground, and then you'd have to let it fill up through the rain, and it'd be you just then get a 2-for-1? Twofer?
Because I would like to go to the mikveh, and you could make it into an ice bath.
That too. You're going to have that. Wake up, your jog, your shower, your mikveh, your kol boker.
Can I tell you a secret? And again, I really believe in this. It's more in my head. It's more theory, but I really believe it. Is to get an earlier night. Go to sleep.
Secret. That's the worst secret of all time. That's obvious.
I'll tell you, we're not talking. This is now. You have to understand, because at night after, let's say, 10 p.m., nothing good happens after 10 p.m., 11 p.m. This is like you're wasting time. You're doing nothing. Get in bed by 10 p.m. because you're waking up early, and once you start getting on that rhythm, you're waking up at 5 a.m. You won't be able to go past 10 p.m. So then all of a sudden,
you're right. A lot of times, the challenge is when you're burning on both ends. That's the problem. Kol boker, the night. I'm naturally a night person, so I'm getting going. I want to write my article. I'm responding to email. I'm catching up, checking into a safe. I want to read a book. It's hard. It takes more discipline than getting in an ice bath, which I'm saying without ever having gotten in an ice bath yet. But I think it takes more discipline to actually go to sleep early or when you first can. Right? Many of us complain, I have to, I get too little sleep. You go to sleep, stop scrolling, stop watching, stop wasting time. Like you said. But it's hard. It's hard if you're a night person.
But if you're waking up at 5 a.m., you can't stay up. Your eyes are closed. You just literally can't. So
but then you got meetings, then you got a wedding, then you got the bar mitzvah, then you've got the thing came up.
Wedding. Can I tell you something? Someone just invited us to a wedding. Then I don't go to the shul, so I don't feel bad saying this. And I love them. They're great people. I said, I'm just going to the chuppah. I can't just to go because I don't want to be the guy that's not at the wedding. I can't. There's too many things.
So you're saying, forget the wedding, that person, but you're saying all of us have to do better of saying, I got to take care of myself.
I got to take care of myself. I can go to the chuppah and I can give a big hug and mazel tov. And it's just, there's too many things pulling. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do 4 hours, 6 hours. I literally can't. I can't. And I love them. And it's going to be amazing. And it's going to be great. But got to start focusing on ourselves a little bit.
Yeah. I'll tell you that's, maybe that's one of the commitments for this year. And then we'll end with this is, we're going to take better care of ourselves. We're going to be a best version of us because we can't take care of others if we don't take care of ourselves. I don't know if you've ever listened to the podcast of Andrew Huberman. He's this, he's a professor, science-based. He's legit credentialed, but he's really focused on the high performance self-care. And he's got all the studies that show, right? Don't drink caffeine when you first wake up. get sunlight immediately, meditation, reading, delay technology, all the recipe and formula for being your best self and living at your highest. By the way, he's also into the ice bath, sauna. He's got, all the stuff, luxuries of if you can. But I was talking to one of my son-in-laws about this, I was listening to you, and like, how can we incorporate that? Because when you've got the religious life, I got to dive in. I can't really eat. I want the cough, but I learn. But then I thought so much of our religious life is actually fulfilling that. Because when you think about it, if let's say you go to the Kola Boker, big plug for the Kola Boker here, 6:15 a.m. So all this strong encouragement, start your day by reading and thinking and challenging. Don't open technology. Don't answer emails. Don't read the news. Don't scroll. Start with a book, right? Which is what they all recommend. That's what we do. You go and you open the Daf Yomi, you're starting with a book. So learning. Then what do? We daven. Because the next thing they say is, next you should go meditate. And we're all like, who has time? And davening is meditation. Chazar Sashatz, close your eyes, sway back and forth, think about the themes of the Amida, meditate what you're grateful for, what you're hoping for that day, what you need help with. So really, in some ways, our day is a little bit more challenged because of the religious rules. But on the other hand, the religious rules are actually starting our day with exactly this formula for some of the best things to get us going.
Wow.
All right, so we'll see you at the Kola Boker tomorrow.
My alarm's set for 5 a.m. So
it's listen, Kola Boker 6:15. You don't have to get up at 5.
No. I want to go for a run. I need that run. Otherwise, I'm not going to exercise the rest of the day. I just know.
All right, so we're going to check back in about Kola Boker, next behind the Bima, and the ice bath. Ice bath challenge. If you got an ice bath, if you got it and you never go in it, if you think it's a waste, if it's the best thing that ever happened to you, let us know. Let us know and give us a little encouragement whether we're going. The spiritual ice bath, the physical ice bath. We're going to get the healing powers of the ice bath. Let's see.
People share an ice bath, or it's like the same.
Yeah, they'll do that for sure. People do that. I
wouldn't go into a bathtub that my friend went into.
Yeah, but you go into a pool. You actually do go into a bathtub that your friend went into. It's called a pool. It's called the mikvah.
Right.
It's called the pool. Not appropriate, dressed appropriately, appropriate place for it. Maybe the new campus.
And the ice bath. I know. How long do you spend in that?
No, I think I'm not there yet.
It's like 5 seconds or like a minute?
No. I think you're supposed to spend 30 to 60 seconds, whatever, to get the real benefit. It's hard. You got to get in.
I feel like the first few seconds is the hardest. Actually, probably the whole thing's the hardest.
Yeah. You breathe your way through it. And the people who've done it, the benefits they say, the clarity, the thinking, the awake, the alertness, the sleep later, the recovery of working out. Everyone who does it swears by it.
Oh, interesting. Might be getting one.
We'll see. We have the pleasure of welcoming our dear friend Rabbi Andrew Shaw this week. Rabbi Shaw we know for many years. Really extraordinary. Wasn't always going to go into the rabbinate. Wasn't always personally observant. And today is a spiritual entrepreneur with a lot of great ideas. As a active rabbi, CEO of Mizrachi UK, and with a great idea of the Simchas Torah Project, something to try to elevate all of our Simchas Torah in this first coming year, commemorating the events of Simchas Torah. We're hoping, please God, as always, for Besoros Tovos. Nice. We should hear good news for the Jewish people. Rabbi Broide, great to be back together. Right. And without any further ado, our friend, Rabbi Andrew Shaw. We are excited and honored to be going behind the Bima with our dear friend for a long time, Rabbi Andrew Shaw. Rabbi Shaw is no stranger to leadership. He's been community development rabbi in United Synagogue in England, where he's had transformational leadership, very dynamic, exciting program. We're going to get into some of that because it's been really exciting. We've been learning from it. But today, the CEO of Mizrachi UK, and what we really want to get into is the director of this incredible Simchas Torah Project. So, Rabbi Shaw, we go way back. When did we first meet?
I remember I was standing in my office and I got a call from this rabbi from America, and you told me about this vision you had for making rabbis into CEOs. That was your vision. And you said to me, you'd heard of me, that I was doing leadership stuff, and would I be interested in bringing a British contingent? And I loved the idea. And so we met for the first time in Kellogg's at Northwestern University for I think it would have been 2006, 7, maybe earlier. I don't know.
I have it on my wall, actually. It was 2000. Yeah, around then. It was around then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had this advanced executive program. We were trying to bring some management, entrepreneurship, leadership to rabbis to bring that business, the best of business, but in the business of what we're in. And it was a great program we ran at Kellogg. We're grateful to Dina Jacobs and Dean Jacobs of blessed
Yeah.
memory for that great program. And you took a chance. I mean, for us, a ticket from here to Chicago was a limited risk. For you and the group that came from England, that was a much bigger risk to come from this unknown, that first program. For me, it paid a lot of dividends. A lot of my rabbinate, a lot of my life I learned from my time at Kellogg, both that rabbinic program, Rabbi Broide was involved, and the summer that I spent there. But I'm grateful, and we've been connected ever since.
Correct. I mean, for me, you say that. I remember that first night when we would land at like, I guess it was like 1:00 p.m. and come to the opening ceremony at like 2:00. It was already like, my body was like already 8. We finished like 4 a.m. We were exhausted that first day, but I came, I think, for 5 years I did it. And the first year I came as a student, and I loved it so much, I basically brought back delegations of rabbis, and so many UK rabbis today, the top UK rabbis of the top UK shuls, were exposed to Kellogg's in those early years and made a big difference how they looked at their rabbinate, and I think how they look at sort of how you lead in the Jewish community. So
we could use a lot more of that.
And to Don.
Bring it back.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame it ran its course, pun I guess intended. But we should bring it back because there's a lot of wisdom and a lot. It's a different business, and we're in the people business, we're in the Torah business, we're in the Jewish people business. But a lot of the principles, and they're important, from marketing and branding and conflict resolution, and we learned fundraising and finances and learning and bringing that was something which was big. Let's get to the Simchas Torah Project, and then we'll go backwards about whether you were always going to be a rabbi and who was the inspiration in your life. There's a lot to learn, a lot to share. But talk to us about the Simchas Torah Project. October 7th, Simchas Torah. It's very interesting that almost the whole world calls it October 7th, and we do too, and we understand why. But for us, it was a different date in the sense that our orientation with it was Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah in Israel. And this first year, it'll be interesting to see, will Israel join the world in observing these events on October 7th, also on Simchas Torah, one or the other, one over the other. But for the religious community, the observant community, and the whole Jewish community who go to synagogue on Simchas Torah, our Simchas Torah will never be the same again. We will remember what it was like waking up that Shmini Atzeres morning, waking up, going into Simchas Torah. And so for this first year, you and I and every rabbi on the planet is looking for, how will we make this meaningful? How are we going to incorporate, memorialize, make meaning on this first Simchas Torah of the events of last Simchas Torah? And you had and have this amazing idea. Tell us about it.
So yeah, I mean, I think I was inspired by Rabbi Doron Perez. Doron is the CEO of World Mizrachi, and a very close friend of mine, and somebody who definitely would have brought to Kellogg's all those years ago, because he really is a leader, a parallel leader. But of course, he faced a horrendous situation on the first day of the war on Simchat Torah, when both his boys were sent into battle. One was already there, Daniel, and Jonathan made the journey. Jonathan made the journey down there, and he didn't know what had happened to Daniel. They thought he'd been captured. They didn't know. And those first few days were for everybody, but certainly for him. And I know my biggest connection to the war was when my closest friend's son was missing. That really, I think for so many of us, there were so many personal stories that connected us to families, to communities. And then something I wasn't expecting. Jonathan was engaged to be married. And I think Rav Rimon, said, you got to go ahead with the wedding. Like we don't postpone a wedding. And so I think it was 10 days after October 17th, the wedding happened. Now, of course, none of us could go, but it was streamed, and watching that was just a mixture of so many emotions. And I think for me, watching Rav Doron next to his son under the chuppah, like beaming proudly as a dad of his firstborn son about to get married. And then the Rav and the Masada Kedushin, who was the Rav of both Jonathan and Daniel, he suddenly says, before we go with Kedushin, let's say Tehillim for Daniel. Wow. And Rav Doron's face just crumpled. And you could see, because there was a father of a son who he had no idea what was happening. So he had to, and then he spoke to us as a group, I think a few days later, a week later, and told us like what that meant. That he literally was celebrating with 100% joy for his son's chuppah, and mourning and being terrified 100% for his son's desperately dangerous situation. And he said, you can do both. You can mourn and you can dance. And of course that, Shlomo HaMelech and the whole idea of the complexity of Jewish life is that. So that's where the idea came from, that we can use Simchat Torah with that quote. I mean, again, I said, as I'm sure you've seen, this is the Torah cover, and that is what is highlighting the top of the Torah cover, because that is what Simchat Torah is this year. It's a time to mourn and a time to dance. I think, I think you shared with me the vort. Why it's not 8 lispod and 8 lirkod. I think it's a Vilna Gaon says because you can do them at the same time.
Exactly. There's a lamed. Each of the other things, it's either this or that, but they're in conflict. You can't do that. You can't be silent and speak simultaneously, but you can eulogize and dance. Sometimes the way you honor and eulogize is through dance. The dance is the way that you're honoring. That's why there's no lamed. It's not ace lispod, ace lirkod. It's ace sifod, ace rikod. A time to eulogize, a time to dance. That could be the way, and that's what you're enabling us to do. This Simchas Torah.
That's the Dekad Yisrael lead, and then the Shama, and then of course the bottom it's the Nishmat, sort of those who died and those in the war. Meaning there's been another, I think, 420 now. Please God, it shouldn't go any higher, of soldiers that have died and fighting. And then on the back, I mean, this was the first one we made, which we made in memory of Daniel. And each Torah cover that's being made and being manufactured in Israel to go around the world has a different name of a Kaddish on the back. So
I spoke to you. I met with you when you were first having the idea and you were developing it. You were in Florida. We met, right? And the original idea was, for the first anniversary, the first Simchas Torah, since this atrocity, this tragedy, this monumental event, let's get 1,200 shuls, again, more if you include the soldiers who were murdered, Hashem Yikom Damam, so many more. Let's get 1,600 shuls to each get a new Torah, and when you open the Aron for Simchas Torah, they'll take out a Torah dedicated to one of the victims. But that quickly became something which was unfeasible, and you pivoted to the Torah cover. Talk to us about that.
I mean, when we had the idea, and people loved the idea of the idea of a Torah, we then did the maths, and we worked out we would need to basically have a sort of a $65 million budget, and that became untenable, especially when all the money was going quite correctly by foundations to help Israel in its hour of need. It was not for us to now do this, and we realized we could get most of the, I guess, not achievements, but what we want to achieve with the project by having a Torah cover, which would go on a Sefer Torah, and therefore you would have that ability to dance with it. And rather than a $65 million budget, it was like a $2 million budget, which was far more manageable. And of course, shuls could then embrace it. I think to our shuls to find $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, yes, some could have done, but the vast majority would not have been able to. So for us, it just allowed us to expand and aim to get the 1,500-1,600 shuls involved. Again, it's been a challenge. It's a lot of shuls. It's a lot of people, and to try and get Jews to do anything on time is very challenging. So yeah, but it's going, and so far we've been going, I think now 2-3 months. We're around 500 shuls have joined the project across the world, which is fantastic, and we've got 26 different countries. We just had Chabad of Beijing just joined today. So China is now a part of the project. They've ordered 5.
What does it mean to join? Just spell it out. What does it mean to join the project? And for the people listening whose shul hasn't yet joined, they should watch this episode, listen to this episode, and immediately send an email to your rabbi, to your executive director, and say, go to this website. Our shul has to be among those doing this. So where would they go?
It is www.thesimchattorahproject.org. That's it. You click register, and then you just fill in your details, and then we get in touch with you. So Beijing got in touch with us. We've had there you go. Just checking it was correct. And we've had amazing stories from South America, from Russia, from and obviously from the main countries: America, Canada, Britain, South Africa, and Australia, but all across the world. And again, not just Orthodox shuls. We've been reached out to by a lot of conservative and reform shuls. I spoke to Rav Shechter about this at the beginning of the project and asked him, and he said, look, it's a Jewish people's project. Like, they also are feeling the loss. They're also feeling the sense of what are we going to do? And in fact, one of the reform rabbis I spoke to, I was in Los Angeles, and there was a conference of, I think it was Stand With Us. There was a lot of different denominations there about who loved Israel. And one of them came up to me and she said to me, she says, last year we didn't do Simchat Torah. We will this year. So you have to realize that, this is providing comfort and hope for, Jews who maybe are quite distant, maybe from the tradition and from the Masorah, but they felt the pain of what happened on October 7th. They're part of the Jewish people. So for us, we're not here to judge. We're here to say people want to be part of it, take a meal, dance, mourn, and be a part of the Jewish people.
Is there a list that's being updated with all the synagogues that are currently using it, so someone can say, hey, I'm proud that my synagogue right now is participating, that you put it on Facebook or on Instagram, and someone says, oh, you know what, why is my synagogue not listed? And then they call,
It's a great point. And here's where politics come into play, because we could do that. We've got the list of all the 435 shuls that have signed up. But again, it takes a god to say you can do this. But again, having a list of different denominations, would it upset certain people? I'm just worried about we are together, but then I can't. My shul's part of Rabbi, I can't believe you signed a project that this shul's a part of, but we don't work with it. So that's why I'm worried. It's sad, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should say no. Just put them all down. So
it's a sad commentary, but I think you're accurate. Meaning, any shul can order Art Scroll chumishes and put them in their shul, no other denomination. But Art Scroll's not going to have a website that lists all the shuls with Art Scroll chumishes, because Art Scroll will close the next day. So it's
what we could do, by the way, is having a website, check if your shul maybe has listed, that you can maybe put a thing and you can see if your shul has maybe. But certainly, again, what's happening is we keep shifting the deadline. I mean, the deadline is gone. Meaning, what was the first deadline, which I think August the 5th. That was to have shul signed up, ready for the launch of Rosh Chodesh Elul in Yerushalayim. We couldn't keep that going because we need to let World Mizrachi know how many people are coming for the launch. But in terms of the rest, we have time till Simchas Torah. So we've said till September, I think it's September 9th. Keep registering, keep doing it. We can hopefully supply the Me'ilim to shuls all across the world. And please God, we can reach the 1,1600, whatever that figure is, on Simchat Torah this year. So we can all be united.
Each me'il, each cover, each mantle is going to have a name of another fallen person. So you're not just some brand, the Simchas Torah Project, that you're ordering. The idea is that everybody who fell October 7th and since is represented on a Torah cover that will claw you. So when the Jewish people around the world take the Torah out and dance, we are dancing with the 1,600 souls who have fallen on October 7th and since.
One of the most, I guess, moving and painful parts of putting this together, I went to the factory in the north where they were printing the Me'ilim. And there's the Instagram post we did of this, where I went to the table where all of the finished ones had been put out, laid out. And they were all laid out back to front. So you didn't see this side, you saw this side. So all I saw was just names, all going down the table, everyone a different name. And the way we've done it, we put the name of the person, their age, where they were killed, and this was mostly lost soldiers, so like age 21, 19, 17. And it's just, you're just seeing the lists and you realize, every single Torah is another name. And one of the things we're trying to say to people is, please sign up. We want to remember all of them. I don't want to go to the launch in September and say to the families, we managed to remember 855 of the fallen people. We couldn't do all 1,500. I'm sorry. I mean, that it's not easy to get every shul signed up, but we're not giving up.
Is it possible to request more than one? Let's say our community, just as an example, we have a connection to not one, unfortunately, but two soldiers, right, that we've spoken about.
So we have two shuls, one in Livingston and one in London, who have asked for 8 each. I think they felt they had lots of names they wanted to remember, but also B, they have lots of different minyanim and Simchat Torah. They want to make sure every minyan had a Torah to dance with. So we're going to also say to other shuls, if you had 1, take 2. You've had 2, take 4. Meaning it's not about every shul gets a different name. So the 8 names it's in Livingston and Hamstergarden suburb, the 2 shuls, they're going to be 8 different names in the shul.
And
so,
also, if somebody wants to sponsor, let's say there's a small shul in a community that can't afford, not everybody has the discretionary money to sign up for a project like this. You don't have to live or be a member of that shul. to just call and say, I'd like to sponsor one of these covers, send it to a shul so that it could participate?
We've started having that. We've had a few people, but we're about to launch, I think today or tomorrow, a charity campaign. Charity got in touch with us, said to us, absolutely free, no charges at all. They want to help. They want to make sure that 1,500 shuls or 600 can take part. So there's now a charity campaign which has two legs. The first leg is for any shul that has purchased, wants to purchase an extra one to donate to another shul. So that's one way you can set up a team. And then the other way is to allow shuls who maybe can't afford it to maybe like send out to their friends and family to maybe donate. So we're trying to allow that to happen because whether we like it or not, for a lot of shuls, everyone wants to take part. Why wouldn't they? It's just $1,800 or now I think it's $1,400. It's a lot of money for some shuls, a lot of money for smaller shuls. So yes, we are definitely reaching out to the larger shuls to say to them, can you please, donate another one, not for yourself, but actually for another shul in, Bolivia or in Colombia or wherever it is to afford to have one.
And is the idea that the shul will have this cover, take it out for Simchas Torah, put it away, but the next Simchas Torah, take it out again? It'll be an annual Simchas Torah could, same way you have Yamim Noraim cover for the Torah. Yeah. This is the Simchas Torah cover for the Torah.
I think every shul is individual. I've heard lots of different things. I've heard one shul wants to have it the whole year front and center. Whenever we open the ark, they see it and they remember what happened to the Jewish people. Others have said, no, it's going to be just on in the same way we change the covers for Rosh Hashanah, we're going to change the covers for Simchat Torah. Another shul said to me, this year we're buying one. Next, we're going to do another one. So eventually, our entire Aron Kodesh will be on Simchat Torah, just these covers. But we don't have the money yet in this first year. So again, and I think you said to us, Rabbi Goldberg, this is not a one-year project. Unfortunately, every single year, Simchas Torah will be connected to what happened. So this is just the first year. And if we can't get the 1,500 in year one, okay, we'll keep going. We're not going to stop until every single name of every Kadosh is remembered.
In our community, there are going to be other observances of October 7th, not on the date necessarily, even before. And it's interesting because you're talking about which date to select. Obviously, for us, Simchas Torah is very important. Next year, I think October 7th falls out on Sukkot. So it doesn't even for those communities, the secular way that want to observe, it doesn't even work. What are you going to do on Sukkot? It's a different date, right? But then,
yeah, I mean, this year, October 7th is the day after. I think it's the day after. It's the fourth after Song Gedalia. I think it's the day after Song Gedalia.
Right. And are there other communities that have already come forward again with creative ideas of what to do on Simchas Torah itself, in addition to obviously you're going to be dancing with it. It's going to be a different type of dancing than we've ever had before. Are there suggestions to how to make Simchas Torah this year even more special that we're not thinking about?
Rabbi Perez is currently writing a guide to give to Rabbonim about what he feels the kavanot, or educationally we should be, or to add to this, to kind of add, you've got your meal, as you said, like what are the shiurim, what are the ideas we can share as Rebbeim with our communities in line with this idea. So yeah, it's not just about the Torah, it's about the education that goes with it. I mean, we're going to try, hopefully, to make sure that every shul receives, a lot of shuls will have this already because they've got a coach they've been connected to, details about the person they are remembering, their life story and that sort of thing. So there's a way of that kind of education about the person to make it personal. But I think, there will be some education. And again, for me, one of the most powerful things last Simchat Torah, which really affected me, was normally when they, as a kid or even as an adult, when you're looking forward to Hakafot, when they start the first bit, Ana Hashem Asher Nas, you're like, just get it over with so we can get to the dancing. Whereas last year, it was actually those lines of asking Hashem, Asher Nas, Tzlichana, that really hit home far more than ever before. So again, it's that understanding of what maybe a relook at what Hakafot are about. They're not about wild dancing, they're about literally each time to ask Hashem to help us. And maybe that means we refocus our energies to understand,
I'll tell you another one of the most powerful things for us. Rabbi Broide and I went to Israel many times since October 7th. And the first time when we went with a group to Be'eri, which I think changed our lives forever. It was the closest thing of going back to Poland and walking the camps and the burnt homes. And when we went, it was so soon after October 7th, there were still bloodstains. There was still a smell that we'll never, ever, ever forget. And when we walked into that shul in Be'eri, which was only founded relatively recently because it's not a religious yeshuv or moshav, and the shul was only relatively recent, on the bima still was the page of the Ana Hashem Moshiach and the rules for hakafot. And there was this sense that the hakafos were interrupted. They didn't get to finish them in Be'eri. They were attacked in the middle of Simchas Torah. And Rabbi Broide, you remember this? We grabbed everybody. We started dancing, and we sang Hoshea Es Amecha, and we basically said we have to pick up the song. We have to continue the hakafos that were interrupted. And maybe that's also a theme that could go this year with these Torahs, is that the names of the people on these Torahs didn't get to finish hakafos. So our hakafos for them, to complete it for them, their Simchas Torah was interrupted. It was abruptly halted. And so our hakafos are a continuation, whether they literally were singing and dancing them or whether many or most of the victims weren't in a shul that morning. But there were people who didn't get to finish. They're soldiers. We just had a soldier with us for Shabbos, a dear friend of ours, who's describing, he didn't get to hakafos last Simchas Torah. He packed a bag, he got a text, and he ran into the army to get his uniform, his weapon, left his wife and kids, and he didn't get hakafos. So how many among the living didn't get hakafos last year that this year we're helping them, or we're completing, or it's tashlumin for their hakafos? So there's a lot of angles on what it'll be this year.
One other angle as well is the families they left behind. I've been getting WhatsApps and phone calls from families in Be'eri, Kfar Aza, families of soldiers saying to me, like, we've just heard that this community, like, and we're just so touched and we're just so moved, because again, they're going to come around to this Simchat Torah, and it's the yard site of their son, their daughter, whoever it is, their brother, their sister. So I think to have the Jewish world envelop them in a hug and say, no, don't worry, we're going to call you, we're going to be with you. I think one shul's gone so far to invite the family to their shul for Simchat Torah, flying them out to America to say, join us for Yom Tov. We want you to be with us. We're going to envelop you. So there's that kind of Jewish, Am Yisrael, just realizing we're all in this together. So I think there's also those, not just those who we lost, but those who were left behind to grieve.
So each family,
something tangible we can do. We can reach out to these families and say we're a community in Seattle, but we're remembering, we're there for you. So it's I think it's also very special.
So each family is going to get a notification of which synagogue is going to be dancing with their.
Yeah, we're just now correct. So next week or so, we're just now. It's again logistically, this has been quite a challenging project. Just the emails from shuls. We didn't read it properly. We thought it was this month was the closing date. So can we still have this? I'm like, that sort of thing. But no, the idea is we're just now finalizing, the list of shuls, which kadoshim, and going to communicate that with the shuls as soon as possible, so they can. Another idea we want to do. I think Rabbi Goldberg gave me the idea, so thank you. Was when the me'il arrives in the vicinity to have a hachanasa sefer Torah. To kind of bring that meal into the community. I know in London, because London is a lot of shuls are quite close together. So like in the Edgware community, where there's 5 shuls that are taking like 6-7 million, we're going to have in one of the shuls, get everyone together when it comes and have a ceremony to welcome these 6 neshamot into our community. So again, I don't know how it works in Florida or in New York about doing the same sort of thing geographically when there are shuls close by that are doing the project together. You have that kind of, it'll be sometime in Elul or maybe, Cholamoy, whoever it is, to bring them in together and to make that sense of, look, these are, it's hard, but these represent 6 people or 7 people, whatever it is in each area. So yeah,
it's a beautiful thing you're doing, and you've really done a tremendous gift to Klal Yisrael, because all of us are wondering and worried about what we'll do, and you've given us a great platform and a meaningful way to express that combination, the Eis Sefod Eis Rakod, the combination of the grief with the dancing and the continuity of the Jewish people that this Simchas Torah will represent. But knowing you for a long time, it's not surprising, because you are a serial spiritual entrepreneur. And, there are serial inventors who are constantly inventing the next thing. And every time I meet with you, I would say probably once a year, Rabbi Shaw, you reach out to me and you're like, can I call you? I have an idea. And I don't know why you call me. We brainstorm and you shoot it off me, and I love it. Whether it was marking a major event in American history, or you're like a serial spiritual entrepreneur with ideas, an idea generator, incubator. So you're now doing that in the rabbinate. Were you always going in the rabbinate were you thinking about going into business or bringing this entrepreneurial spirit to the business world before you became in the rabbinate? How'd you end up in the rabbinate? Because you're not just the CEO of Mizrachi UK, you're an active rabbi as well. So how did that end up being?
I mean, it's interesting. I never, ever dreamed of becoming a rabbi. I mean, again, as a kid, it was I wanted to be a cricketer. They know what cricket is. It's a holy sport. But once I got to my teenage years, and into yeshiva and university, it was accountancy. That my dad's an accountant, was an accountant. My brother's a lawyer. That was the path, and it was changed pretty much by, I'd say, one man, one gadol, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, because he was 1991, and again, everything happens for a reason. He became the chief rabbi, and that said, I just got back from yeshiva, and he came to Leeds while I was studying, and I was annoyed because he didn't come to the students, because the community wanted him, and what the students are. So he spoke in the Leeds town hall to the community. So he made sure, he said, invite the students. So we all came. I remember sitting there, and he told the story about him and the Lubavitcher Rebbe, how the Rebbe said to him, "What are you doing for the Jewish people?" And he looked at the sort of the gathering and said, like, we all have to hear that message. What are we doing for the Jewish people? And he looked, he looked, and he literally looked at me. He wasn't mean to look at me at all. Maybe he didn't look at me, but I kind of felt his gaze for a second. And it affected me. And a lot of us that day kind of went back thinking to ourselves, he's got a point, what are we doing? And I got involved at university, had a wonderful rabbinic chaplain, Rabbi Jonathan Joanne Dove, who were incredibly supportive. And again, it was about how the religious students on campus, we wanted to be role models. So we started having Friday night dinners and Onyx Shabbats for our fellow students. And it made a huge impact on them all. And a lot of them became more involved Jewishly, and some became Shema Shabbat. Not because we were trying to do kiruv. All we were trying to do was show them what we loved about being Jewish. We loved Shabbat. We loved, Chagim. We loved learning. And we just showed them, be a part of this is our world, be a part of it. And I just realized that so many people I spoke to in those first years of university had never had anybody who could relate to them growing up, who connected to them. And I got this feeling, maybe I want to do this. Maybe I should, be a rabbi. Maybe I should be the person someone like these people needed when they were growing up and never had. So, and a lot of us, Rabbi Sachs, I always blamed him for changing a lot of lives in the UK. I remember my phone call to my father, Rabbi Shaw, and I said to him, "Dad, I've made a decision. I want to become a rabbi." And there was silence. He says to me, "Andrew, your brother's a lawyer. I'm an accountant. What's the difference rabbi for a Jewish boy?" Now he was joking, but I think in a way in our world, hardly any of my friends became rabbis. They became, doctors and lawyers and bankers. But for me, Rabbi Sachs was that catalyst. And I've never looked back. And in fact, a lot of the work Mizrachi is doing now in the UK is to create those leaders on campus, because that's where it's so important. When you get to campus, you become a leader. I know JLIC does amazing work in America with this. So we're trying to mirror that with Mizrachi, working with Bnei Akiva, working with the United Synagogue to create leaders on campus to hopefully create next generation of rabbis for the UK community.
What's the connection between United Synagogue, Mizrachi? Is it overlap? They're separate organizations. United Synagogue you have different than we in America. In America, you can be a member of the OU or Aguda, but there's really no centralized system like you have over there in the UK.
The United Synagogue is the most important organization in the country. I worked for it for 15 years. I was director of education for it. I founded Tribe, which is the Young United Synagogue, the youth movement of the United Synagogue, because it's a remarkable thing. And it's not just United Synagogue, it's any of the shuls in the OCR, under the Office of the Chief Rabbi. It's about 100 or so shuls across the country, 65, I think, in United Synagogue shuls. And these are shuls where the members of the shul belong to an Orthodox shul, but they're not religious. I remember when I left my job as youth director in New Hampstead, New York. My wife's from Spring Valley, New York, from upstate New York. So we were youth directors of a shul. And it was about 120 member families. And when I left on my job as the assistant rabbi of Stanmore Synagogue in London, United Synagogue, they said to me, "So Rabbi Shaw, how many member families are there in Stanmore?" I said, "There's 2,750 members." They're like, "Wow." Like, how big is the main sanctuary? It must seat like 2,000. I said, it seats 500.
Huh.
Oh, so you mean they have many different minyanim on Shabbos? I'm like, no. They said, what do you mean? I said, no, most of their members, they were their members Shabbos morning. They daven hashkama. I said, no, they just don't come to shul. And they couldn't understand it. And this is the, as Rabbi Sachs used to call it, the blessing of the United Synagogue, that we have the ability to connect to and inspire people with traditional Orthodox Judaism from a wide range of different observances. And I saw my work in Stanmore Synagogue and in Tribe Synagogue. The impact you can have in a community over a long period of time has changed so many countless lives. So Mizrachi, we work with all the United Synagogues, both centrally and also locally, to give them programs and projects and speakers. So they're our biggest client, I would say. And we see such value in the work we do with them, because the membership there just, they are traditional Jews who are very proud Jews, very proud Zionists. They're just not observant. And our job is to help them along that journey in whatever way we can.
Amazing. What's life like now with the uprising? You hear all the protests in United Kingdom.
I guess it's the same everywhere. Meaning, I would say, how can anyone live in New York? It's crazy there. Everyone's boarded up their things. In LA, there's riots.
Florida. That's why they're all moving out of New York.
Look. Since October 7th, if I didn't look at like social media and I didn't look at the news, my life, nothing has changed in my life. Meaning, I go to my local shul, and my kids go to school, and there's been no issues. Yes, if you go to the center of town on the Shabbos, you will meet some very, very angry and hateful people. But I don't go. I live, 11 miles from the center of town. But there's no question that there are worrying signs within the country. But also, what we've also seen is people coming out of the woodwork saying, we love Jews, we love Israel, which is also important. So I think I've seen both. I've seen the haters hate and the lovers love, if that makes sense.
It's interesting you said that. I was just on a panel on anti-Semitism with Rabbi Shaw from London. From London?
Yeah.
From London?
Yeah, Mill Hill, just down the road from me.
At the JLI, at the Chabad's annual conference here in Florida. And he said that. He said October 7th revealed to us that the people who hate us, they hate us much more than we ever knew. But it also revealed to us that the people who love us much more than we know. Yeah. It was such an interesting insight.
Yeah, you're right. And again, I think like just yesterday, 2 days ago, I think whatever it was, last week, I went to visit someone in a hospital in the center of town in a place called Highgate. It's near town, and I'm walking towards the hospital, and this woman like crosses the road, walks towards me, and she said, and just walks by me and goes, "Look after yourself, buddy. I'm Israel Chai." And it was like it just. A stranger just saw a guy in a kippah and just wanted to come and say, like, we're with you. And it's like, I never had that. Would never had that before October 7th. And I think, there was definitely, as Rabbi Shaw quite rightly said, we're worried about what's happening on the political left. A lot of, and I'm not saying the right is perfect either, but certainly we've seen a lot of worrying signs. But I think the message, I think you said this, I think when we had our conversation, the response to anti-Semitism is more Semitism, is more Jewish pride. And in some ways the project, I'm working now with Maor, I think is what they're called. They do a lot of campuses across America. Mm-hmm. Because, these poor students on American British campuses who've had to endure this, let's give them something positive to dance and sing on Simchas Torah with something that's positive, that's something that's not political. Because I think that's what people need to do. And I think people have done. It's another, I'm never going to say benefit, but we know there's people in America and the UK who, because of this, have kind of come back to Judaism and felt a sense of reconnection as well. So that's also something that we've seen, I think maybe more so in America, but here as well.
Can you share with us a couple of differences, maybe 3 differences between being a Torah Jew in the UK versus in America, aside from the fact that you guys drive on the wrong side of the street and you have smaller portions in your restaurants? But what's the difference of being an observant Jew in America versus the UK that maybe the average American Jew doesn't appreciate?
I think less than there was. I'll start with that, meaning I think growing up as a Jewish Jew, there were no kosher restaurants here. It was maybe 1 or 2. That's now changed. Now, thank God, London is a thriving In terms of kosher food, you've got restaurants everywhere. So that's not a difference anymore. Same with Eruvim. Growing up, there was no Eruv in London. You couldn't carry on Shabbos. So I'm saying we've caught up with those kind of basic things that I guess America's had for years, kosher restaurants and Eruv. But I think the main difference is the idea of the non-observant Orthodox Jew that doesn't really exist anymore in America. I think Rabbi Wein said it once that America is kind of 5 hours behind in time, but about 50 years ahead in terms of what will happen if England doesn't fix what it needs to fix. Meaning, we know we've got about 10, 15 years left till we lose that middle ground, not to the reform, but just to oblivion, assimilation. So I think one of our advantages is we work very hard to keep that middle ground involved. So that's one big difference. I think a second big difference is the fact that we are a much more traditional community than America, meaning we don't have a large reform and there's no conservatives, Masorti and reform. Make up maybe 15, 20% of the community. 80% is Orthodox. Again, they may not be Efrem, but they belong to Orthodox Shaw. And I think that's a very important part of who we are. You don't find people here in the UK who don't know anything. Most Jews, they know they're Jewish, they know the Shema, they kind of know. And a lot of them have been to Israel. Because geographically we're close to Israel, I think, this year, unfortunately, not as many, but normally about 50 to 60% of all Jews aged 16 go to Israel after their high school exams. So there's a lot of connection to Israel, much more so than America because of distance. And one other one I think is also very important. We have a monarch. This is a very interesting point. It was made to me years ago by an American rabbi who said he really feels part of Britain's kind of traditionalist is we understand the idea of melech. The idea of that. And, there's a lot of the Jews here, we love the Queen and we love the King, maybe not as much as we love the Queen, but it's growing on us. But the idea of you have a melech, and again, the messaging she gave through her life and even towards the end of her life, the idea of being a servant, and I wrote a whole piece on this. A lot of her lines you could literally see about she saw herself as a servant of the people, as somebody who you have a mission in life, you have to be a servant of God. That messaging comes out loud and clear from the royal family. I think it has an effect in the sort of Anglo Jewry that we've been this kind of traditional, we understand, again, a lot of people I know who are completely not religious would never go near a reform shul. Not in a nasty way. They just feel, no, that's not, I know what Judaism is. The shul I don't go. I mean, I remember one story which I've shared so many times with people. I think it's a very powerful what England can be. Was I went as a kid to a reform shul for a bar mitzvah. I was 11. We were invited to it. I wasn't Shabbat. Yeah, my family went from. We went with another family, but we were quite traditional. We didn't drive on Shabbat. We didn't write on Shabbat. Certain things that you have levels of observances. And this other family did. They drove on Shabbat. They went to football on Shabbat. So much less religious than we were. But they walked with us out of respect for us. Fine. We get to the Reform synagogue. We sit there. It was a very different service than I was used to, organ and so on and so forth. It came to Adon Olam, and the organ started. Adon Olam Hashem. His wife said he made us sit in separate rows. The guy who drives on Shabbat made the men sit in one row and the women sit behind them. We couldn't sit together. And when his wife began to sing Adon Olam, he whirled around and said, "Don't you dare sing in this church!" Like angry. And I was shocked. This is a guy who's driving on Shabbos. He's going to his football team and he's telling us. So a kiddish, she came up to me. He said, "Andrew, what do you think of the service?" So I felt I was a bit brave. I said, "Actually, I'm a little upset. What happened?" And I told him. He said, "Let me tell you something." And I never forgot. He said to me, he says, "When I drive on Shabbat, I know I'm doing wrong. One day I may change. One day I might stop it, but I know it's wrong. They think it's okay, and that's the problem." And I was 11, but I've never forgotten where I was standing. And that's the beauty of what Anglo Jewry has, non-observant orthodoxy. People know what it should be. They're not there yet. And by this guy, eventually became Shem Shabbat, made Aliyah, kids are from, so I'm saying. So, it's, that's the beauty of the synagogue. Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
And again, and as Rabbi J.J. Shaft explained to me about America, he said, is a Noah's Ark of orthodoxy in a sea of assimilation. We're not there yet, and please God, we'll never be there, because we can hold on to the people and keep it connected to the Messiah.
Wow.
Rabbi Shaw, thank you for being with us. Thank you for the Simchas Torah Project. It's a gift to Klal Yisrael, and we're very, very grateful. You're a gift to Klal Yisrael. I love your energy and your leadership and your ideas. Keep them coming. The spiritual
Next idea is a
entrepreneurship.
big one. How about another time?
Okay, the next big one. We'll have to have you back on to reveal it on Behind the Bima. But
There you
look
go.
forward to seeing you on your next trip here and our next trip to the UK, but mostly to see you in Yerushalayim, please God, Ir HaKodesh, all of us permanently, hopefully in the very, very near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Goldberg. Thank you very much indeed.
Catch us next time for another peek behind the Bima.